Hey folks, welcome to another edition of Fitness Friday Posi-TIPS with Rachelle. Last time I actually kicked off this leadership series, and as I mentioned, this is the very first time in several years now that I've done a series on leadership. So I am so excited to highlight some leadership principles and help and empower you to become the best leader you can be by unleashing your leadership potential. And folks, you may wonder, what is this in Rachelle's hand? And so folks, this is actually something someone gave me this last week. It's actually coleslaw dressing. The brand is Wild Tree Fresh and Easy Coleslaw Dressing. I'm actually a big fan of coleslaw. The southern variety of coleslaw, which is very sweet and very rich. And so this is actually an organic brand. So it'll be interesting to see, how it compares, but I look forward to trying it out. But if you notice one thing, it's actually been sitting for a little while in my cabinet. And just like when you purchase sauces, marinades, dressings, all of that, one thing that you notice, I'm going to utilize this as an example during this leadership series to really kick this off, get this thing going, is on these sauces you will typically see shake before opening. All right, you see that in many different food examples, shake before opening. Why is that? Because over time, the ingredients will settle at the bottom, or in some cases settle at the top. And so for the best flavor in terms of consistency and taste and all of that, it is so important that we shake it up, mix things up. And so that's what I want to do for during this particular leadership series. For each and every one of you folks, I want to shake you up. I want to unleash your leadership potential and make sure to help 29 to be your best year yet, folks. And so, but it's certainly going to take some effort and on your part. And I actually highlighted during the last episode the importance of growing and learning as a leader, particularly by taking assessments and understanding where your leadership strengths and weaknesses are, what are some areas and opportunities for development, some coaching tips, all of that. Folks, there are so many different online, offline assessments that you can take and partake in as part of your leadership journey, and I strongly encourage you to do so. As I mentioned, leadership development is what I do. I'm very passionate about it. But I myself am often doing various activities to improve and enhance my own leadership skills. And last time I highlighted the Acumax Index and those 4 different measurement parameters that measure just the important factors, and I highlighted those. Won't go into that again, but this is actually something that came out of the following week. As I mentioned, I'm in a 7-week course, and actually one of those weeks was on leadership, and we received these that for the week after that. But anyway, these are just some leadership personality profiles. And so this example actually has 4 different profiles, and I've actually kind of known this information about myself from years ago when I was in sales, because that's certainly something, and coming into sales, particularly in the medical industry, is they do assessments, they do personality profiles, particularly because they want to understand, how resilient are you? How independent are you? Can you wake up? Can you manage your own territory? Do you need a boss breathing down your neck? Because if you do, you're just going to really have problems and not going to succeed in that area. But the most important factor they wanted to measure out and evaluate is your resilience towards rejection. Your sales, rejection is at the heart of sales. And so they were trying to prevent people hiring people who had a tremendous fear of rejection, because that was going to be just almost immediate turnover and attrition when that employee had a day or a week's worth of rejection and threw in the towel. So that's something that was certainly very, very important, but all industries, including the fitness industry, I think is something, there's areas of growth and development opportunity, quite frankly, to do those measurements, to do those assessments and those personality profiles, to understand, what is the culture? What type of culture have I created in my facility or my chain of facilities? What is the culture? And is this particular person an ideal candidate, an ideal employee? Have I determined what an ideal employee looks like? Do I know what that is? What personality traits? Most importantly, what character traits? Because it's so important that you hire, it's a very, very famous saying, hire for character, train for skills. All right, so won't get into all of that, but this is actually an example of 4 different personality types in mine, as it was years ago. These things tend to be very consistent. I have a driver personality, and so some of the traits and some of the characteristics of that personality they have listed here, and I'll read some of these. And it says, very courageous, objective focused, they love to take action, know what they want and how to get there, communicates quickly, gets to the point, quick to make decisions, sometimes direct in their communication styles, hardworking, high energy, does not shy away from conflict. Drivers make for great athletes, military personnel, politicians, sales team leaders, and CEOs. And drivers are motivated by their ability to win. And so the three other personality types are analytical, expressive, and amiable. All right, so just another example of understanding yourself, and maybe, you may take an assessment, whatever, and it just may be, oh yeah, that's right, I knew this, but it's always great to see. It's always, always, always great to see and to reinforce, and so we continue to learn, grow, and understand ourselves better, particularly as we are leaders and as we are interacting with other people, leading and managing and influencing other people, those in our care. So just a great example. And so, folks, I actually am going to spend this particular episode here, and I'm going to break out this whole episode with something that was unplanned. I was actually going to have just the four leadership No-Nos with 3 separate episodes here. And I'm actually going to do this one and probably another one I'm going to drop in next week or even the week after. But this one, I wanted to highlight just the importance of trust. And so I could actually throw that under the umbrella of gym leadership No-Nos being, don't distrust your people. This trust aspect is so important. I mean, this is something I write about, something I speak about, this whole aspect of trust, and something, you know personally where you stand regarding trust. Do you have issues trusting your employees in the workplace? Do you have issues trusting your spouse or significant other? Do you have an issue just trusting people in general? And if that's the case, I certainly challenge you. I mean, there's resources, there's healing, learning, growth, development opportunities around this aspect and this concept of trust, because that's something that can be overcome. That's certainly an area that a person can make strides in, because distrusting people is a recipe for losing a lot of people in your life. And that's true in the workplace. That's true outside of the workplace. And so I just want to implore you today to ask yourself, how do I feel about trusting other people? Do I feel like, do I have a gazillion micromanaging projects that I have, tasks for my employees because I don't trust them, so I want them to document everything that they're doing every hour of every work day? Folks, it happens, even in the fitness industry. Am I constantly watching them, even remotely? Last year, earlier part of last spring, I actually highlighted on a Fitness Friday an example of Planet Fitness. I don't play favorites. I actually highlighted the Planet Fitness location in Mount Pleasant, Michigan. I often read Indeed.com and Glassdoor.com reviews for all different types of industries, because just from the HR aspect of why current employees, how they feel about their companies and organizations, as well as former employees. And in the former employees category is particularly important because people, once they've left, tend to be far more honest and candid. All right, since at that point they feel they don't have anything to lose, and these are all done anonymously, these reviews. And so I highlighted that Mount Pleasant location last year, where I highlighted that particular person, former employee, had said management was watching remotely via laptop. And that's actually something that's not the first review that I've seen with that in there, that remote watching of employees on laptop. But that's actually not the first review that I saw for Planet Fitness where a former employee had said that. But that just let me know, particularly, won't turn this into an HR episode, but you do that kind of stuff, it screams distrust. Obviously, I have respect for that facility, never stepped foot in that facility, never been to Mount Pleasant, Michigan as long as I've lived here. But when folks are saying that, particularly on a company's job search type website, or an Indeed or a Glassdoor, where they're looking at what former employees and current employees are saying, that type of feedback is just tough. It's just very tough from an HR perspective, because people feel that, and no one wants to feel like they're not trusted. People want to feel like they're starting a job and they're getting the benefit of the doubt, and they don't want to be micromanaged and just treated like children and all of that. But that's just a very powerful example, as you can tell. I've never forgotten what that employee said about that particular facility. And so I want to implore you to hire people that you can trust. Hire people you can trust. All right, another famous saying, you've all heard it. Maybe you haven't heard it, so I'm just going to share it anyway. And that is, hire for character, train for skills. All right, so this is going to force you to think about, what type of people am I hiring? Do I have an ideal employee? Do I have someone that's a dream employee? What are the personality traits? What are the character traits of that particular person? How do they work? What is their work ethic? What do they like? How do they interact with customers and members? All right, is this something you've even thought about, or do you just kind of have a recruitment philosophy and hiring philosophy of just hire whoever shows interest in your facility? No, you deserve better than that. All right, but you've got to have systems and parameters in place to ensure that you have employees that are a good fit for your particular culture, your whether it be YMCA or whatever, franchise, corporate facility. It's so important that there be a mix, because all of this attrition that we hear about, particularly on the commercial side of the fitness industry, a big part of that, I would argue, is because you have a lot of people that are necessarily, they're just not good fits for these roles. They're not good fits for the culture. You drop someone in who has a tremendous, a candidate, that person is hired and they're put into a role where they have to sell, where they have to promote and all of that, and they have a tremendous fear of rejection in that particular situation. Get ready for employee attrition. And I won't get into all of this because, like I said, this is not an HR episode, but it is very expensive. I don't care if we're talking about a facility that has 5 people or 5 employees, or one that has like a Lifetime Fitness where their head counts in their individual facilities range anywhere from 200 to 400 people per facility. Yes, those facilities are large. They have a lot of people they're responsible for. Those general managers earn every penny. Let me just say that. And so, but you've got to determine, it doesn't matter what the size of the facility is. Okay, who are you hiring? Are you trusting these people? And if you're not trusting, what is the reason for that? Is there something that needs to be addressed there? Whether it be, training opportunities, development opportunities for that employer or employees, or just that could be kind of food for thought, knowledge for the future to help in your future recruiting efforts to determine what is an ideal employee, who is someone, what traits, work ethics, work habits does an ideal or a dream employee for me in this facility represent? All right, and then you can move forward fulfilling that particular, once you have that insight and knowledge, then you can utilize that knowledge to drive your recruitment and hiring efforts. Because folks, cultures of distrust, and they happen in all types of industries. You got micromanaging, you got distrust, you got folks spying on people, spying on employees, all of that happens everywhere. And I want to highlight actually a few examples on this episode, a couple of positive examples of trust, as well as a couple of negative examples of trust here. And so folks, actually this article appeared, the first one that I'm highlighting was actually talking about Drew Brees, and it appeared in the New Orleans Times-Picayune on February 11th. And Drew Brees, bam, for folks that don't know, he's actually quarterback of the New Orleans Saints. And so, he's broken all kind of records, certainly a future Hall of Famer. So this article was essentially saying, because he passed over and, all of that, does he get his just recognition? That's actually the title of the article. Does he get his just due recognition for all that he does and has done? But there's a long article. I just want to highlight one paragraph that highlights a lot. The only thing with Drew is he just doesn't have the 9 Super Bowl appearances like Brady or Tom Brady, the quarterback of the New England Patriots. All right. Esiason said, he has the numbers. He's shorter than most. He's remarkably gifted, and I would say he plays with a chip on his shoulders. And I would say the players that he plays with absolutely love him and respect him. And it's one of the reasons why Sean Payton, and that he's the coach of the New Orleans Saints, Sean Payton is so good as a coach because he's got a guy on the field that he can trust. So I think this really drives home the point. And, when they talk about the Peyton Brees era and just how well those two work together. And I think this article, and I saved it, it's been on my phone here for all this time because I wanted to highlight that. Do you have folks in your facility, on the field, on the football field, so to speak, in your particular facility or facilities that you trust? And if you don't, you got to ask yourself why, and what are you going to do about it? How are you going to improve that situation to create a culture of trust, or even hire people that are trustworthy? Again, hire for character, train for skills. That's so important. So I wanted to highlight that one really quickly, and I've got another one here that I've been saving on my phone here. I've got to find it. And this one is regarding, I live in the Motor City, Detroit, Michigan. And so the auto industry is huge here. Obviously, I had no idea how big it was, the big three, until I moved to Detroit here. And so there was an article that appeared in the Detroit Free Press, and this was on February 15th by Phoebe Wall-Howard. And it says, the title of the article, Ford CFO Bob Shanks retiring as company seeks to double profit, sources say. And so essentially what this article is talking about, and I have to find this paragraph here that I want to read that highlights this trust, importance of trust is so important. And essentially what the article was talking about is the CFO, Bob Shanks, is leaving, is retiring, and so they've got to replace him. And listen to this, listen to these couple of paragraphs here. Shanks has a typical Ford culture style of telling things as they are in a straightforward manner. answering questions as asked. Hackett, and that's the current CEO, Hackett tends to be more big picture and vague and not necessarily answer what's asked, said John Gabrielson, a market economist who advises clients in the auto industry and so listens to analyst calls regularly. Finally, Bob Shanks has been the top trusted person that investors and analysts have relied on for the last 8 years of earnings reports, backed by the credibility that only his 4+ decade career in finance at Ford can provide. His presence and manner provided a critical ingredient of comfort to offset the lack of auto experience of the CEO. And so that was a great article as well, but it highlights, once again, all right, Bob Shanks spent more than 4 decades at Ford Motor Company, worked his way up through the ranks, current CFO, but the investor community loves him. They respect him. He has credibility. He has integrity. All right, so he's leaving, and so now the investors, the investor community, the investment pundits are a little rattled of what's going to happen. Who's going to replace him? Are they going to have the same caliber of experience and background? And how is that particular person? Are they going to be strong enough to kind of compensate for the newer CEO that doesn't have the 4 decades of experience at Ford? So, but that's an example where you have an investment community that trusts the CFO. All right, and again, everything, just to quickly give a caveat, when I highlight these type of things, this is not investment advice, all right? Just all of this, just highlighting the investor community. When you hear me talk about different franchises and all of that that are top and doing very well, I never give investment advice, so just to clear that up. But the investment community is wondering what in the world is going to happen now that Bob Shanks is retiring. So a great example of the trust that he built up over the years as CFO. So great example, and I just had to save that on my phone as well to share that with you. But want to shift gears here into a couple of bad examples here of distrust and what that means and what that certainly leads to in organizations. Was reading Bloomberg Business Week. Folks, I read a lot. I mean, all different types of media and magazines. But this one actually here, this is an older one. And so I actually saved this one. This is from November 12th, 2018. I had to find the date. I'm very big on citing and quoting my sources. And so the article is titled "The Battle Inside 7-Eleven." And if you've never been following Entrepreneur Magazine, the Inc. Magazine 5000, 7-Eleven has always done fairly well in terms of how they've ranked in terms of being a recommended franchise for those particular magazines. But I wanted to quickly highlight something that I read this months ago, but I've saved it. And it says, running a 7-Eleven is a complex, stressful endeavor. A generation ago, it was easy enough to make a living selling a little more than milk, cigarettes, and lottery tickets. Today, according to franchisees, the community expects stores to keep an inventory of thousands of items at all times. Corporate employees or contractors, some disguised as mystery shoppers, regularly drop by stores to see if they're abiding by a litany of rules, down to making sure the Red Bull cans are displayed front-facing. A range of infractions, from lesser things such as running out of Butterfingers and Diet Coke, to more serious matters like failing to deposit the day's receipts, can trigger warnings called letters of notification, which lead to what 7-Eleven calls a breach of the franchise agreement. An accumulation of 4 breaches in 2 years can give the company cause to terminate an agreement and take over the store. So anyway, there's a lot of problems within the franchise, between franchisees and corporate at 7-Eleven, a lot of problems, a lot of issues, but you can see there, all right, they're sending people from corporate, undercover to evaluate and essentially to spy on these franchisee and see what they're doing. And as you can see, as a result of that, as you would expect, there's a lot of unhappiness, there's a lot of discontentment because of that distrust, all right, that exists. But that's an example there of a top franchise that's done extremely well over the years where there is a culture of distrust, all right, coming in from corporate. But also, I should probably, digress for a quick second and say that, but when you buy into a franchise, and actually a book that I highly recommend is called Franchise MBA. The franchise convention, the expo here, it's typically here every year, every other year. And a gentleman spoke, and he was giving out his book, the Franchise MBA, and it's just a great thing to add to your library, particularly if you're thinking about starting a franchise. But you got to understand, as part of signing that franchise agreements, you will have situations like that. Sometimes where they will say, in the fitness industry, as part of this franchise agreement and contract, we will send mystery shoppers once a year, twice a year, whatever the case may be. So there's that understanding of you signing that and buying a franchise that will be part of the case. All right, so but part of the issue is what I have a problem with. Yes, that's part of the understanding, but then you have franchisees and across all industries and even within the fitness industry that have rolling mystery shopping programs year round where they're constantly checking up on their people, spying on their people. And my argument in that situation is from an HR perspective is you're doing that year round on your own, you don't trust your people. That's just the bottom line. But here's an example here of another example of distrust. And so we've got Wired magazine, and this one is actually old, from August of 2018. So the title of this article is Snooper Troopers, The Boss Sees You. Let me read some of this here for you quickly. Earlier this year, Amazon successfully patented an ultrasonic tracker of a worker's hands to monitor performance of assigned tasks. Eerie, yes, but far from the only creative method of employee surveillance. Upwork watches freelancers through their webcams, and a UK railway company recently equipped workers with a wearable that measures their energy levels. By one study's estimate, 94% of organizations currently monitor workers in some way. Regulations governing such conduct are lax. They haven't changed since the 19th century. The most common snooping techniques are relatively subtle. A system called TerraMind, which lists BNP Paribas and the telecom giant Orange as customers on its website, sends pop-up warnings if it suspects employees are about to slack off or share confidential documents. Other companies rely on tools like Hubstaff to record the websites that workers are visiting and how much they're typing. All right, going to skip a few paragraphs here in the interest of time. It says, NYU Schultz admits that a degree of oversight can galvanize commitment, but he wants a law guaranteeing its restriction to workplace tasks. Others insist data should be anonymized. One model is Humanize, a people analytics service that provides clients not only with individualized employee reports, but rather with big picture trends. Workers are then accountable to that big picture, each contributing modest brushstrokes. Don't paint outside the lines. And this article was by Miranda Katz. So a couple of examples, trust and distrust. I could spend this whole episode telling you, just the negative ramifications that you will feel when you don't trust people in your life, employees or not. If you're going through, you don't trust your significant other, spouse, going through their cell phone, looking for evidence, going through their email. This kind of stuff happens day in and day out. I don't care where it is, I don't care who we're talking about. This kind of stuff happens. And then people are surprised, whether it's in the workplace with a culture of distrust, fear, and micromanagement, or relationally. People are surprised when all of a sudden the person leaves, or employees in a workplace situations leave, and there's constant high turnover. That trust aspect is so important. And so that's why something, whether you hear me talking about, Fitness Friday, and I'm highlighting various people or hearing various people within a facility, there's something that I'm always looking for, and that's certainly consistency in employee, but also an indicator of character, That is so important to me, and I'm going to talk about that on a future episode here during this leadership series, but again, highlighting that famous quote, hire for character, train for skills. I'm always watching, I'm always listening, all right, for character, for honor. So when you hear me highlight people, whether you're talking about Ryan Lowe, who's the district manager, Shreveport Bossier, character. You often hear people also say that's what's happening when no one is watching, right? So back in October when I was home and he was in there manning the pre-sale office for the newest location by himself, what's happening in there? All right, he's promoting that franchise group, that particular gym, and the chain of gyms in that area is with integrity, with credibility. All right, with credibility, when no one is watching. That's what was happening. That's why I highlighted him. All right, so there's always examples. Leo, charismatic Leo, regardless of if he's filling in at another gym or his gym or not. All right, how is he operating when he's in there by himself, which is often the case? All right, operating with character, with honor, with respect. Everyone, I don't care if they're older than him, younger than him. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Always, character, honor. I'm always listening for those traits. When I was at that, as I mentioned to you a couple weeks ago, when I met that long time, very loyal PF Michigan Group employee, Karen, who's the district manager of the Westland, Michigan, Planet Fitness, listening to her, 6, 7, 8 minutes I'm talking to her. I hear honor, wonderful things about that franchise group. So happy, loves her job, loves that franchise, very loyal to those folks. That's an indication of character. She's not there, trying to upstage anyone else. She's there supporting that general manager of that particular Wayne, Michigan facility, as well as the leadership. All right, that's something that's always very important, is how employees, I'm a training and development professional as well. So if I go into a place and I'm training a group or whatever, you can tell who's happy, who's engaged, who's not, who's on their way out. That is painfully obvious. Their body language and their words and all of that, their language, communication that's going to reinforce how they really feel. So I'm always listening and looking for character, right? Character piece is so important. So important. And I want to close with this. Another great example here of character and how just kind of sometimes unexpected examples pop up. But a few weeks ago, you heard me highlight, I have to be objective, can't be biased, can't be nominating people for awards and doing different things. And I mentioned how Crane's Detroit Business was soliciting nominations. I actually saw the announcement through the Detroit, Michigan SHRM, or Society for HR Management. Saw that post here. I got an email, former organization I belong to, Detroit SHRM, and I saw that, and I immediately I thought of Maureen Cisco, who's the HR director for PF Michigan Group, and I was like, man, she would be great. I mean, I could build a case, as I often do sometimes, outside of the fitness industry, because I can't do that kind of stuff, as these particular episodes require me to be certainly objective and biased, but I mean, I could build a very strong case of why she should win that award, or any award like it, not just that one. But as I explained to you before, I can't do that because that's favoritism, that's bias. All right, that's favoritism and that's bias, and so I can't do that kind of stuff. But what I can do, and this is why I wanted to close with this particular example here, what I can do is highlight what I can do. I mean, I obviously can't do certain things, but what I want to do here is I find it here is highlight what I can do. So I logged in, so it was February 13th, so I logged into LinkedIn, and I don't spend a lot of time on that, and if someone invites me, I accept, I log in to accept, and the feed is right there, because it just takes up a lot of my time, and I just can't do that. I'll drain too much time. But so the first article or whatever on my feed, first post on my feed was actually from Planet Fitness PF Michigan Group. It was from Maureen Cisco. And it actually posted, and I did a screenshot of it here, and very quickly, are you an experienced human resource professional looking to apply your HR knowledge in a fast-paced, exciting environment? We're looking for a human resource generalist to join our team. This position would be based at our Northville, Michigan office. The ideal candidate would demonstrate a solid knowledge of the human resource field and possess a strong desire to positively impact the organization. To learn more about this position and to apply, please click on the link below. And then there was a link. But one thing she always does on her posts, I've noticed, is if she has an opening or she's highlighting a grand opening, she posts a picture. It's always a different picture, some different folks smiling. I'm sure at one of their gyms or one of the newest gyms, or even the specific gym that she's highlighting in that particular post. But one thing, there's a lot of different things that she does well. As I mentioned, I'm an end user, so I'm going into some of these facilities that she is responsible for, and I just see her presence is very clear to me. Just given the background in HR and my membership, I just know that there's a strong HR person at work there. A lot of good things that I see. But taking it online, and you think about what she's doing, promoting the organization, but she's always very quick to put a picture, like I said, to humanize that. And I know a lot of HR people. I'm connected on LinkedIn on a lot of people, but I don't see other HR folks posting pictures. Just really giving you a visual of like, oh, wow. And from a marketing perspective, a lot of times you can actually see someone, an interested applicant can see themselves, working there or being there. Oh, this is cool or whatever. But she's always, tagging Planet Fitness, the corporate Planet Fitness or hashtag Planet Fitness. And so it's so important. And I just wanted to highlight that. So saw that post, and folks, what I did do, remember, I can't nominate for an award like that, but what I can do is network. And that's what I do. I'm known as that, the novel networker, Rachelle. Always. People that know me that have called me that. So now what can I do in this situation? And what I did do was like her post. So anybody, I know a lot of HR people could see that in my feed when they saw that I liked it, and I rarely like posts. So they were able to see that. And so also what I did is I said, this is networking. So I do this kind of stuff all the time for helping people, connecting people, whatever. And so I said, I know what I can do. I can send this, make sure that Joan Moorhead is actually a past president of Detroit SHRM. Years ago when I was a member, she heard me speak in 2012 in Lansing, and we've kept in touch since then. Just a wonderful person, wonderful leader, wonderful representative of the HR profession, more than 25 years of experience. So I sent a message to her about this post, forwarded this post to her, and I'm going to read to you what I said. Hey Joan, feel free to share this with your MySHRM network. PF Michigan Group is one of the largest Planet Fitness franchisee groups in the nation. Maureen Cisco, and I have in parentheses, HR director, does an excellent job for them. And so then that's how I sent it to her, and then she actually responded to me and said, she posted it, she shared the post, and it says, I screenshotted that as well, looks like a great opportunity. Is it yours? And it says Joan M. or Moorhead shared this. So she shared it with her group. And so I just wanted to close with that, folks. When I think about trust, and we talk about this whole concept of leadership trust, okay, what caused me to do that? All right, yes, I'm a networker. Yes, I connect people, and been blessed with a lot of folks connecting me in my life, into professional opportunities, personal opportunities, all of that. All right, but there's trust. All right, I'm essentially reaching out to someone that I have great trust and respect for, and she has great trust and respect for me over these years, to share that post with her network. And so essentially I've been to enough PF Michigan Group's locations here in Metro Detroit to trust the experience, to trust that franchise. I know they're doing a lot of good things here in Metro Detroit in their leadership, not only of the Planet Fitness franchisees here in the Metro Detroit area, all those locations, but also just the industry as well. They brought some great visibility to the fitness industry and fitness gyms in general. And so that's important. But I had to be able to, there's a lot of trust behind the scenes that went into me sending that. All right. I had to trust who she was going to share it with her network and all the different wonderful people that she knows in HR that can apply in all of that. And so that's a trust issue. All right. If I didn't think highly enough of the franchise group, there's no way I would have posted that. I think highly of Maureen and the job she's doing. I think highly of PF Michigan Group and what they're doing, what they've achieved, and what they've accomplished, and their continuous growth and all of that. But that's just an example. If there's no trust there, she could have not trusted me and not posted it. I could have, not trusted the situation in terms of making, the connection and all of that. So think about that as you operate in your own lives. So that was not bias. That was not favoritism. That was being objective, because I do that for people all the time. All right. But there's got to be a level of trust when you make a referral, when you connect someone to someone else, when you connect someone with a potential opportunity. There's a level of trust there. So think about that. What type of reputation does the folks have or the person have as you're making that connection? Do you trust them? All right. And so that's my own personal example of trust. I can give you so many more, folks, but I'm gonna close it down for right now. But I want to continue this conversation next time on the importance of trust, but moving forward with additional gym leader and fitness facility leader No-Nos. So I can't wait. So stay tuned. Thanks so much for your time, and make it a wonderfully fit day.